Hey, this is Eric Fraser with Corvus Lore, and you're watching Chaotic Riffs.
Hello and welcome to Catfish TV today, Eric. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. So,
Yeah,
to start, I'd love to know. I always love to ask people the story behind the band's name, Corvus Lore. What's that?
yeah. So we've been a band now for about 10 years and went through a couple of different band names in the beginning. But Corvus Lore is the name comes from Corvus, meaning the genus of a raven, and then lore just being like the mystique. So it loosely translates just the mystique of a raven.
There is a bit of a mystique to the band. I hear you guys kind of describe yourself kind of a Velvet Revolver sounding band. I can kind of hear that influence. Now, what I love about the sound of the band is it's kind of all over the place. I mean, for example, you look at one of the previous, I was watching your music video for Boxing Ballerina, and,
Yeah.
and that you put it on, it's a little more kind of radio friendly, kind of got a little bit of a pop sound to it, but that's all right too, because the hook of the song, it gets in your head, and I just love that about the song.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's definitely an ethos for the band when we're putting together music, writing songs. We also try to think about putting together songs in terms of a live show set, and really to have songs that differentiate themselves from each other. So, Boxing Ballerina, perfect example of a song that I think you kind of picked up on it. It does have kind of a little bit of like maybe like a Black Crowes kind of feel to it, but mixed with a couple of other influences. And yeah, I mean, I would say like the sound of the band tends to be kind of like a modern twist on classic rock is kind of the best way to put it. Because I grew up in the 70s, and so a lot of my heroes are guitar heroes, and certainly I would categorize Corvus Lore as like riff guitar-based rock. So
Definitely. Now, let me ask you, the different kind of sounds, for the different songs, is that based more on the fact that you guys just kind of, like you said, want to do different types of songs, or is it a little bit also of everybody in the band has their kind of different influences that you bring into the band?
yeah, that's a good question. Well, primarily the song ideas and writing comes from our lead singer, Ryan Jones,
Okay.
and he plays guitar too. So he'll start writing the general riffs behind songs, either on an acoustic guitar or electric guitar. And I would say he's a little bit younger than we are, but his influences are kind of just right in line with ours.
Okay.
And so, like if I were to look at our former bass player, Mike Canetto, he grew up on a lot of progressive rock, a lot of Genesis, Yes,
Oh, fun.
Weather Report, the Beatles,
Okay.
and 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 for me, more, I would say, if I'm honest, I grew up more on like the AC/DC, Van Halen, Ozzy
Oh,
vein, and
definitely.
then, but we definitely wanted to approach the songwriting from things that we would enjoy listening to.
Sure, sure.
And so, in fact, a joke that I have with my guitar player is that in hardly any of our songs will you ever find a simple bar chord. Like
Yeah.
we try to augment the music a little bit, but I would say it's highly attainable, the
Yeah,
sound of the band.
funny you bring up AC/DC influence because I definitely hear that in some of the music. But AC/DC is one band that can kind of get away with being simple three chord pattern songs, and a lot of the songs sound the same. But interestingly enough, I'm not a musician myself. I'm just a music lover. But I hear other musicians say AC/DC music is not necessarily the simplest music to play as people think. It's very complex.
Yeah, and especially if you just look at the dynamic of the brothers Malcolm and Angus. Angus gets the spotlight, but Malcolm clearly is like the guy. I'm sure he was heavily involved in the songwriting. And to your point, even bands that just might have like a straight 4/4 drum beat, staying in that pocket and playing something that is consistent but still has a groove is very difficult. So I would agree with you that you can't underestimate the power of AC/DC.
And again, AC/DC, I don't know if you got a chance to hear their final album they put out a couple years back, but Interesting
Hmm.
enough, they recorded it with Angus and Malcolm's nephew filling in for Malcolm who had passed away. And interestingly enough, from what I understand, Malcolm was very involved with writing a lot of those riffs. He does not play a lick on the album, interestingly enough, but it's
Hmm.
interesting that he was involved with the writing, and even though he doesn't play a lick, you can hear his influence all throughout that record.
Yeah, I mean, AC/DC definitely has like worked the formula
Yeah, yeah,
of just the combination of chords that they tend to rely on in the style of music. But it's all good stuff. I mean,
sure, sure.
I'm thankful that they're above ground and they're still producing new music and
Definitely.
touring. That's a credit to them.
And let's talk a little bit about the new single that I believe is called "Feather Me Up." I was checking out the music video for that, and all your videos, I gotta say, are like I know that's what a music video is, a mini film, but I mean this looks like a major film production that took you guys hours and hours to create. Talk a little bit about the making of a video.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad you picked up on the style of videos that we try to put together, and again, a lot of the storylines come from our singer Ryan because he is the lyricist, and he definitely knows like the place he was coming from when he, wrote the lyrics or wrote part of the songs. And so he's already visually got an idea of a location, a storyline. We haven't really done a traditional, band performance. Maybe the boxing ballerina one is about as close as you're going to get to it. But we try to provide something, a little bit more interesting. And as you put it, so the last video was Feather Me Through, and it was shot in two locations. So all the shots of Ryan out in the snow was in Lake Tahoe with our director who's done all four or five of our videos now. His name is Mike Sloat, and they shot that in one day. And then we did all the band performances out at a art studio in Santa Rosa, California,
Oh, okay.
and it just so happened that our director had a friend who had access to a snow machine. So we basically figured out how we wanted to do the lighting, propped up the snow machine on top of a large crane, and then
Wow.
the hardest part of capturing that band performance and making it look, I guess, a bit more dynamic was to place just some oscillating fans on the ground in opposing directions so you could get a little bit of the snow movement and whirling and
That's amazing.
yeah.
And I did pick up on how dramatic the music videos are. And interestingly enough, to that on that note, I was reading Baxing Ballerina in 2022 actually won the Poppy Jasper International Film Festival. Talk about that. I mean, how cool is that? A music video winning an award at a film festival.
Yeah, we were very fortunate to be nominated, and the Poppy Jasper Film Festival is pretty sure local to California. But anyways, there's people that submit short films, and it can be on a variety of topics. But ours just happened to be our music video, and yeah, it was really cool. I mean, how often do you get to see like a portion of your video being played on like a movie theater size screen?
Yeah, yeah.
And we felt very good. And actually, kudos to our director Mike for really the accolade goes to him for doing all the editing and concepting and whatnot. But yeah, that was maybe we'll win another one. Who knows?
I was curious, did the band submit that or did somebody else submit it on your behalf?
uh, I, it was either somebody in the band or it could have been somebody from the record label.
Interesting.
So
And of course, Eric, you are the lead guitar player in the band. You do all those great lead riffs. I was curious to get a little more detail on your story. Can you tell us how old you were when you first picked up the guitar and why you
yeah.
chose the guitar as your instrument?
Yeah, man, vivid memory of being about well, first of all, like a lot of other kids in the 70s, picking up tennis rackets, putting on the record player, pulling together folks in your garage. I think one time we even tried to like light newspaper on fire inside of garbage cans to recreate like Kiss
Yeah, yeah.
pyrotechnics. But my brother, who's a year and a half older than me, picked up bass he must have been about 13. So then I started guitar when I was 11, and uh, just had a love for, I mean, at that time, it was Van Halen 1 had already come out, AC/DC Power Age, I think, was out. My first concert was the AC/DC Back in Black tour.
Oh wow,
So that,
what a wow.
yeah, it was a cool, very good indoctrination into like just seeing somebody kill it on stage. But yeah, so I took lessons for a bit, and my brother and I did various different cover bands around local to the San Jose area in California. And then around the year 2000, he had already branched off into a different musical endeavor that was a Latin rock band.
Oh
And
wow.
around the early 2000s, it was kind of a big deal. Like if I don't know if you recall, but like Carlos Santana's album Supernatural had just like completely blown up. There's a lot of Latin influence in pop music back then. And so they needed a guitar player, and I filled in, and then we ended up going to Spain and recording an album out there. And
Yeah, I forget the name of the band, but I do know there's this one metal band I'm aware of it. It's Spanish influenced metal. Yeah, so
yeah, this band was definitely more, I would say, closer to No Doubt,
okay, okay, that's cool
female
too.
pop singer. Yeah, and then after that, came back to the States, and then I got involved in a couple of different tribute bands. So was involved in a tribute to Foreigner for about 3 years, and after that, a Foo Fighters tribute, and then from that band, two of us came, and that was the forming of Corvus Lore, was the bass player myself.
I gotta say, Eric, no shame in playing in a tribute band. Again, I'm not a musician myself, but I've seen plenty of tribute bands, and out in LA where I'm from, I mean that's big business even to this day. You'd be amazed out here. I mean, they have what's called pay to play. Even the tribute bands are big business, and they give them all these free tickets to hand out to their fans, and they're like, okay, if your band can pack the house, you get to come back here and play. But if not, this is your one shot at it, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's a totally low risk situation because the music catalog is a known entity. People know what they're going to get. And so I could see why there's a ton of bands that really just thrive at doing that tribute, year after year. Some of the best ones that even Corvus has played with, Bonfire out of LA
Oh yeah,
is
I've seen
just,
that. Great AC/DC.
excuse me, they're phenomenal. Like their lead singer is Bon Scott, and the band has like all the right energy. Hey, we've been talking a lot about AC/DC today.
Yeah, that's just your influence coming out now. Do you miss
Yeah.
playing with your brother? Do you miss playing with him? And you know, talk a little bit about that because you hear about you mentioned the Black Crowes. Those guys were brothers, and
Yeah.
they had a love-hate thing. The Van Halen brothers always would talk about how they were connected. They were the two in the band that did everything, and they felt some kind of connection. Even to this day, Alex Van Halen has never played with another guitar player.
Isn't that bizarre? Yeah, you think about your time on this planet and how talented Alex is, and just
Yeah.
like stayed, just true and did not stray from the Van Halen stuff. But back to my brother, I would definitely agree that, being in a band with a family member, you definitely you get an appreciation for like their instrument.
Yeah.
And that's a really, good reason why I gravitate towards good bass players,
Okay.
because you will learn how to play pocket better. And certainly the good ones can do, guitar melody lines like Paul McCartney
Yeah.
but yeah, my brother is he's kind of like walked away from the music stuff for a bit, and is enjoying retirement. And if I get a chance to jam with him, I'll certainly take it.
Well, good for him. Now, you mentioned before we went on air, you shared with me that Corvus Lore is currently working towards your third album. I mean, where are you guys with that?
That's right. Yeah. So we're still in production. Would love to do 10 songs for this project. And we have like close to eight of them done. So finishing touches, polishes, guitar overdub, solos, and just like putting a button on the remaining songs. But our goal too is to release a couple more singles too, of the ones that are finished.
Okay.
So Feather Me Through is out now. It's on all streaming services. And yeah, I'm excited about it. That track definitely has a lot of energy to it, and for me, doesn't sound like anything we've had on the other two albums.
And again, I got to tell people because like Boxing Ballerina, even though it's a little more radio commercial poppy, I still
Yeah.
dig it. It's got a great hook. And then Feather Me Up, I dig because it's the complete opposite of that. It's got more of a little hard rock edge to it. But that's kind of what I dig about Chorus Lore. You never know what you're going to get with this band. It's like I could imagine having a whole album of just where it's not just one great song, but like 10 great songs, like they used to make back in the day.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. I hope that what we pull together as a collection for an album is the best of the best. And, I definitely don't want to put any sleepers or just fillers. And that's why this album has been taking so long, is because we've been very just guarded and astringent about exactly what is going to make it to the final cut.
And so when you guys are creating and writing and in the recording studio, is there a Corvus Lore box, would you say, like where you say, oh, you know what, this doesn't sound like what we do? Or do you guys tend to experiment and say, well, you know what, let's run with it and see how it comes out.
I mean, I think most of the songs that we focus on for development
Yeah,
that are going to make it to the table, meaning that most of the structure is there, and what we're looking for is like, what is going to be like the drum or percussion approach, and then really sometimes it's more like what other avenues do we want to take it in?
yeah,
There's a few songs where, man, if you can just come up with the best middle eight or bridge section that can just elevate the song to a new level, then you're off to the races. But I don't know that we necessarily as an example, would like try doing something like extremely heavier, doom based or stoner
yeah,
rock,
yeah.
or it really is more gratifying for us to stick where we are, because I hope that when people come to see us, that they like that style of music.
It even looked like something like Metallica's Black Album to this day remains their most successful album, but at the same time, it split the fans. I mean, you have the fans of original Metallica from the first three albums, and when they were a lot heavier, and then those fans get kind of turned off. Oh, they've gone pop, they've gone mainstream, and then you got the mainstream people who just love it. Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, are you a Metallic fan? Inner Sandman. That's the song they
Yeah,
know.
you go to the concerts now, and it's there are a lot of silver-haired people and
Yeah,
some
yeah.
strollers, and it's kind of cool. I mean, the fact that to your point that they started out, basically inventing that style of metal in the Bay Area in the early '80s, and the fact that they're still doing it is incredible.
And then you look at a band like Def Leppard, who most people I think will refer
Mm,
to as MTV kind of pop hard rock band. But if you go and you listen to the first two Def Leppard albums, they were much more heavier. They were much more of a metal band.
yeah, in fact, I was just watching a short documentary or a segment on Pete Willis, because I wanted to know more about
And
who he was, and really just like why he was only on the first couple albums. But I would agree with you, High and Dry and On Through the Night, those were two like part of my childhood for sure.
so, as far as guitar heroes, Eric, who are your heroes growing up? As far as the guys that made you want to pick up the guitar?
Yeah, for sure. Like out of the gate, like I said, when I first started learning, um, it was Eddie Van Halen all the way, and not because I could pick up on, the licks and the technique out of the gate because I was just a kid.
Yeah,
But just the ferociousness, the attack, the inventiveness. He just really just brought a lot of color to, I guess, what you could say at that time was like a lot of stale kind of classic rock. In terms of like lead guitar playing. But so Eddie for sure, Randy Rhoads, man, the first two albums, and I was fortunate to see the Diary of a Madman tour. That was my second concert.
wow,
But it was with Brad Gillis, and Randy had just passed like a few months prior to that, but
wow.
it left an impression. And then you know what? After having that foundation as a young student and trying to learn stuff by ear and picking up on just really expressive guitar leads, um, that was a great foundation to start with. And then now that I'm, older and we're writing our own songs, and I just have so much more appreciation for the craft of songwriting than necessarily lead guitar playing.
Sure.
And so for me, like I think the DeLeo brothers from STP are just like, if all you knew of those guys was their first album, it's just such not the depth at which those guys go.
I mean, again, I mean, not taking anything away from Scott Weiland, he was a great talent in his own right, but
Hmm.
also Velvet Revolver, as we mentioned, Mr. Weiland within, but those two brothers too, they were kind of the heart and soul of that band, and they were very much involved with the writing. That's why, even to this day, anytime they put anything out, Scott Weiland, rest in peace, but they've been able to carry on without him because they're the guys that always wrote the songs, and he
Oh
was
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Have you heard the new One More Satellites project from Dean
I haven't
DeLeo?
heard that. I got to check it out though, because
Yeah, check out Paper Over the Cracks. It's one of their newer singles, and it's phenomenal. Really
and
great
so
song.
yeah. So how involved are you with the songwriting of Corvus Lore? Because I imagine you're involved with some of the riff writing at least.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've talked about boxing ballerina quite a bit. I mean, that intro riff was something that I had loosely based. It's just a riff in open G guitar tuning, and then threw it over the fence to Ryan, and he came up with that really catchy chorus. Pictures of you, pictures of me, and then we put that against just our bass player almost put like a Doobie Brothers kind of
Yeah, I love that
like a
tune.
minute by minute kind of thing. And that's what brings it all together is like I had an idea, Mike put his spin on it, and then Ryan just, wrote these gorgeous lyrics and a melody against it.
Because at the end of the day, it's more about. I mean, I love a flashy lead solo much as the next guy, but it's more about singing the song. That's why bands like the Eagles, Aerosmith, 40, 50 years on, their songs are still being played on the radio because they got great hooks in those songs.
Yeah, that's kind of cool that you're interested in some lead stuff, even though you're not necessarily a player yourself. That's interesting.
Like a lot of people, I just as a fan, I love listening to it. And you talked a little bit about Randy Rhoads, and the amazing thing to me about Randy has always been died tragically young. I think he was about 24 when he died, but more importantly than that, his legacy. If you think about, is really just those two Ozzy albums. I mean, a lot of people when they die young, they have a few more albums under their belt. This guy only had really two albums. He had the two Quiet Riot ones in Japan, but let's be honest, nobody really has heard those too
Hmm.
much.
Yeah, and everybody talks about, the LA scene and was there a rivalry between Randy and Eddie and who's better and whatnot. And they're just such apples and oranges. Like I could not picture Eddie Van Halen coming up with like the beginning of Diary of a Madman. Like it's very classically based. It's almost symphonic in a way. And nor could I see, Randy, coming up with something like Top Jimmy or Drop Dead Legs, or I mean, they're two totally different players.
Yeah, yeah. And the interesting thing too about Randy, like you said, he was much more into classical music. Like when he first joined, I don't think he was a huge Black Sabbath fan. And I've heard stories where Ozzy's talked over years in interviews about Rhodes was the first person to actually teach him how to write an actual song because a lot of people don't realize in the early Black Sabbath years it was Geezer Butler that wrote most of the songs, not Ozzy.
Yeah, and in the Ozzy solo days, it was Bob Daisley writing the lyrics. I mean, it was so much more about the people that surrounded Ozzy that really lifted him up and brought him to like, his star status. Not trying to take away from
Sure, sure.
his talent, but you're right. There are those kind of like hidden unsung heroes that don't necessarily get the credit.
All throughout his solo career, the guys in his band were all not just very talented at their instrument, but very much involved in the songwriting. Even Randy Castillo, who's passed on, the late drummer from
Oh yeah.
Ultimate Sin, No More Tears, he was very involved with a lot of the songwriting. Yeah,
Yeah, and we got to see Jakey Lee come out on stage for the Back to the Beginning show
yeah,
in Birmingham. That was incredible. I bet you that must have been like full circle moment for him.
yeah. And then for any Ozzy Sabbath fans, I was just reading today before we got online to do this that apparently, I believe it's October 7th. Ozzy's coming out with another book called Last Rites, and it's gonna be
Oh, no
talking
kidding.
all his health issues since dealing with Parkinson's disease up until the concert this last weekend. So that'll be a cool read, I think.
Yeah, yeah, man. Again, just somebody who just like changed music forever.
Sure. And I also got to ask you, Eric, before I let you go. You were sharing me that you guys have a new band member. You want to talk a little about him and who he is?
Yeah. So, in the original band, I think I mentioned Mike Onetto. He and I came up from the tribute scene, and then he was a heavy contributor to Corvus Lore for almost 10 years, and was just such a solid friend, band member. He's still a friend. You know, there's no bad blood. He's just moved on up north and is enjoying life with his grandkids. But our newest member is a gentleman by the name of Johan Hill, but a lot of people in the local scene know him as Red Cup, and he's just a shot in the arm. He's full of energy, plays bass like a MFer, and is just like exactly. I couldn't think of a better replacement, and so we've been rehearsing with him and getting up this set list for our next show, which is coming up July 26th in Redwood City at the Club Fox,
Okay.
and the other just kind of more bizarre thing is that I'd never met Johan before at all. We all play in the local scene around here in the Bay Area, and when I first met him, it turns out that his dad was my first guitar teacher, and I
What
they
a
don't have the
small
same last
world.
name.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, your dad's Tom Landry. Wow, that's incredible. And then, here we are. It's like the great magnet pulling us all
Did
together.
somebody recommend Johan, or did you just know him from the music scene, like you said?
No, you know what? That's a good point, Jason. He was recommended from a guy, a good friend of ours at our record label, Valley of Fire. Tim Narducci, who happens to be our record producer, knew of Johan, and because Tim was so intimate in producing our music, he knew the exact player that we had to pull in as a replacement. And yeah, so far it's been working out great. I can't wait to
That's
see how far we take it with Johan.
that's great. And now with all this great new music on the way, I was curious when you guys do play out live, how hard is it to create a set list? I mean, you take out some of the old songs. Is it a mixture of classics and the new stuff as well?
Yeah, we that's a really good point. We're actually so Feather Me Through is already out and it is from the new album. So we're definitely going to play that, and I think we're going to play one other song that hasn't been released yet.
Okay, wow.
And then for the most part, we look at the songs that were released as singles, did we have video support behind it? And then we'll round it out with like songs from the first album and just really try to make it a fun, set for us and for everybody watching.
Oh, wow. Okay, Eric, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. It was great chatting it up with you.
Yeah, likewise.
And we're going to post this in the next couple days. When I have a date for that, I will let your publicist Jody know. And I'd like to thank her for helping set up the interview. She's given me a lot of great interviews over years. But thanks for coming on, Eric. And maybe when the album drops and we get a chance to hear all the new music, we'll have you come back on the show. That'd be great. Okay.
Oh, I'd love it. I enjoy talking to new people, and I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk today.
Yeah, we kind of got your story as well as the band. That's what we hope to do. So I support. I urge everybody to go support Corvus Lore. And you want to let people know where they can find you online?
Yeah, corvuslore.com, and it's got all the links to our streaming, the videos, and go check it out.
Okay, thanks again, Eric. You take care, my friend. Bye bye.
You too, buddy. Take care.